Hi guys, so today I figured it's finally time for me to talk about my thoughts on what I thought about this episode of The Owl House. I've had a week to kind of synthesize it. I've had a week to kind of get over some of the hype from it, because I will say I was in no condition to be talking about it last week. I was crying over so many things from this episode because of how good it was. But I figured now is finally the time for me to talk about it. Now that I guess I'm a little bit more composed, now I can talk about it a little bit more and see where we go from here. I haven't done a discussion video like this in a rather long time, but it's mostly just because I always found them a little bit too tight. I always had to structure them a certain way, and going into the structuring with that sometimes hurt my head trying to do, because I try to do it so perfectly. I think I got it right this time around. I'm gonna see how I feel about this by the end. If you guys like how I do this, then please let me know down below. If I end up enjoying what I do with this, then I might do more of these in the future. We'll see. But let's get into this, and I guess start with probably one of the biggest mind blowers for me from going into this series. They've been here for months, I tell you. From the get-go, they're already having me be excited for the next episode. I knew going into this that we weren't going to be able to make it to the Demon Realm this episode. We weren't going to see Ida, we weren't going to see King, we weren't going to see anything that's going on from what happened with the Collector or anything like that yet. But still, just from the get-go and knowing that we've been here for months just absolutely blew me away. And on top of that, they handled this time skip so beautifully. I don't know, knowing that we only have 3 episodes for this, and knowing that there would be some form of a time skip happening, I was a little nervous about how this was going to look, but in the end I was also I think they got this, and they 100% nailed this. The little montage that we got in the middle did such a perfect job bridging the time skip that we had. It did such a good job of just giving these characters this casual adjusting period to the human realm, adjusting to what it's like living in the human realm. We had these cute moments with the wardrobe change. We had V's new design, which I absolutely love. We had so many things in that just so perfectly bridged this mind-boggling amount of time between their last adventure to now. And it was each character design that we got fit so well with, I guess, the development for each character. With Amity, I guess, with the lighter hair color to her now, is she's softened up a lot more as a person, which is kind of what I was talking about in my last video, talking about Amity and what I love about her. And getting to see that here, I guess, is kind of what that reminded me of. And then also just, she looks really good in that uniform. I love the way, just aesthetically, all the outfits looked. I liked Hunter's, I guess, more goofiness in this. I don't know, Hunter was always such a stiff character as the Golden Guard and that kind of thing. And, getting to see him with his hair down in these episodes was really interesting to get to see. And I loved being able to see that. Gus, I knew, was going to adjust right away, because I know how much he loves the human realm. Willow adjusted a lot more quickly than I thought she would. I don't know why. I guess I expected it would take a little bit longer for them, but also it's been a couple months, so it's it also fits with that. It still just boggles my mind thinking that there's been months between each of the last episode of King's Tide to now. And I just love getting to see them explore the human realm, kind of get to understand a little bit better. I liked Amity's little moment with the library. It just again, it's goofy, and it's allowed to be goofy. It's allowed to have these wholesome moments every now and then. I appreciate that they do, mixed in so perfectly with these more heart-wrenching moments where you have Camila talking about, why she wanted to send Luce to the Thinking Inside the Box camp, or why some of the developments that we've gotten have gone the way they have, or just Luz's guilt, which hits so hard this episode in so many ways. The little like jabs at it, just like, this is Luz's fault and that kind of thing. I'm like, no, it's not. She was tricked. This was not her doing. And just getting that from this episode hurt on so many levels. It was just like, I wanted to just grab Luz and shake her and be like, this is not your fault. Stop blaming yourself for this. But it's also like, it's also just like the way they jabbed at him and so many things like that just absolutely broke my heart. And it was like the idea of Luz staying behind in the human realm and leaving behind this world where she fit in so many ways that I just didn't want to imagine. I didn't want to imagine her leaving, and I loved how they ended up handling that throughout the episode, keeping me engaged with it. And then there's Camila, who I was really impressed with the development we got for her. Like, I've heard a lot of debates online talking about how Camila is a bad mom. I never agreed with any of those debates. I've always thought Camila, I was always confused a little bit with where some of the inspiration behind some of the actions she took in the first episode came from. But I never got the sense that she was bad. I always got the sense that she wanted what was best for Luz. I always got the sense that she was just trying to help. And because of that, I was always so confused as to where some of like the dislike for Camila came from. This episode, I think, or I'm hoping at least, fixed a lot of that, because it showed kind of where she's coming from with a lot of it. It showed how supportive she is with a lot of Luz's quirks and that kind of thing, and I loved getting to see that. And I loved, I guess, the feeling that Camila had a side of her that's very similar to how Luz acts, and it, I think, strengthened my vision of the bond the two of them share with each other. And it makes me really excited to see kind of how she's going to play into everything else that goes on, because she hasn't played a role really in anything Luz has done in the demon realm since yesterday's lie. So I'm interested to see kind of how she's going to react to the demon realm when she enters it. And I'm interested to see kind of how she's going to react when she meets Ida, how she's going to react to a lot more. I mean, with how she reacted to Belos, I absolutely loved that reaction. Speaking of Belos, this might not be funny to anyone else here, but this was something really funny that I just laughed at myself for. The like little hints of like, oh yeah, Belos is gonna come back at some point. I was not expecting Belos to like have much presence in this episode. I thought it would be more like, okay, this episode's just into the human realm. The next episode is when they finally go to the demon realm and like Belos hitches a ride with them. And then that's when Belos would appear. I didn't expect Belos would have like much presence, so I was thinking that all these hints were just setting us up for the next episode. But then at one point I was like, we saw the episode where the scene where the family almost hit a quote unquote deer, and we got the hints that was Belos. I was like, okay, Belos, we get it, you're alive. And I don't know, like, I never expected that he was gonna possess Hunter. I always thought that when I saw that was just Hunter, like, because he's a clone, he's a Grimwalker, because he's a creation, that this is a result of that. I didn't put two and two together being like, oh, that's Belos possessing him. I didn't quite like make that connection. So when it finally happened, I was like, because like the moment that Luz arrived on the little grave area and we saw the map torn, I was like, yeah, Belos is taking over. And I was like really shocked, because I was like, after he got splat by the Collector, I was like, how is he going to rebuild his body? I was wondering like how he was going to have any sort of presence, and like possessing Hunter made sense to me, I guess. And then also just, I love the voice actor for Belos. Just like the way he talks, the way he just sounds so, I guess, like in control and so manipulative with so many things. And the way that he just sounds so indifferent to so many things going on around him. I just love his voice. He might have one of my favorite villain voices of all time. And then also just Hunter got to really shine this episode too. because there's so many moments where it's just like, we see how far he's come from being just one of Belos's pawns, seeing him going from the Golden Guard to Hunter defining himself as a person beyond what Belos wanted him to be. And then that moment where he just absolutely stuck it to Belos, I was like, let's go, Hunter! And then there's Flapjack. I was gonna say, this is the first time I feel like we've heard a lot more mention to the name of Evelyn. I don't remember if we ever heard mention of Evelyn before, and every time I did, I always thought it was like, oh, is this a connection to Ida? Is that why Belos is so obsessed with Ida? But, the whole development of their story and the whole development of Caleb and Philip, I appreciate getting to see. Also because I guess didn't get the sense that Hunter was supposed to be based off of Belos's brother. I got the sense there was like some sort of connection because of how similar the two looked to each other, but I guess I didn't quite land on brother. And on top of that, this is the first time we ever actually got Caleb's name, which I really appreciated seeing, and that makes a lot of the wolf references make sense. The reason why Hunter is like, I love wolves, I love them, because that connects to Caleb, and I see that now. But Evelyn, I'm very curious to see more about Evelyn. Kind of like, what's her connection to Flapjack? What's Flapjack's connection to Caleb? And then, I guess kind of now that supposedly Flapjack is a part of Hunter now, I want to see what they're going to do with that. Like, what does that entail? Because we know Hunter doesn't really have a lot of magic that he can do on his own beyond the speed that he was able to do thanks to having Flapjack. So I'm wondering if now, like, maybe he's going to be like a human Flash of sorts? Which, I don't know, I'd be all for that, honestly. Like, I think that'd be interesting to see. I'm interested to see kind of like how that would play into the fight against Belos and other characters. And then there's just, I guess, so many other moments where just like suspense of like Luz coming to confess that she was, or not confess, but like Luz coming to say that she's gonna stay behind in the human realm. The build-up and suspense behind that really hit, because in fact I just didn't want to imagine Luz staying behind from a world that she just fits so perfectly in. And I remember also I read an interview with Dana talking about how the show wants to deal with grief. Their dealing with grief in this episode hit really, really hard as well. And getting to see Luz's reactions to her father's passing, getting to see kind of like how that informed a lot of who she is, was really touching to see. And then also it's just like it I guess made it feel like we were watching Luz grow up, and it put us in the position of not really parent, but it put us in the position of someone who's like watching Luz from the outside as a kid growing up, and that made it really, really sweet for me to see. I always feel so connected to these characters. I always feel so much like they're precious to me, and I want to be able to see how they grow and develop just in the way a parent wants to see their child grow up. And I guess just seeing that in Luz in this way was really, really sweet to see. And I don't know, I'm guessing I'm really excited to see kind of what other loss they're going to take and what other ways these characters are going to develop throughout the show. Because I have a feeling that this isn't the only heartbreak we're going to take, and I'm really scared for who that's going to be next. I'm wondering, like, I don't want it to be Ida. If Ida dies, I'm going to absolutely lose it. Same thing for King. Honestly, there's so many characters where it's like, oh my god, if they pass, I would absolutely lose my mind. And I would just need an absolute freak-out moment to just synthesize what happened. And now it's like, we've gotten so much for it, and I just can't wait to see where they're going to go with this episode next. I still am also... I want to see if Evelyn is connected to the Clawthorne family at all, because I always felt like Belos did, like, focus on the Clawthorne family a little bit more. Like, he gave Lilith the curse, which in turn made Ida turn on her family and later, I guess, caused everything for Ida, making the Owl Lady legend a thing. So there's something about Ida and Bellows that there is a connection to, and I'm interested to see kind of where that connection comes from beyond just being a bad girl and going against the laws, which I love Ida for so much. But I guess we'll have to wait and see for that in the next episode. I hope you guys are excited if you have seen the episode. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this little discussion of mine. I'm sorry if I rambled for some of this. Again, I'm not the best at doing discussion videos like this. I'm trying to do a little bit better with them, but it's also just not something I'm necessarily like that strong with. But if you guys like this video, please let me know down below, and I look forward to seeing you guys for the next episode.